In this video, I just want to talk to you about how we name equations. So you'll notice I have three different colors here. Basically, they all mean the same thing. You'll recall that when we're writing algebra equations, we can say something like this. 2x, plus 1 is 10, right? We also could have said 2m plus 1 is 10. We could have said 2k plus 1 is 10. We could use any letters, okay? Well, it's the same way when we're doing these kinds of equations. So my first one, I'm doing red. Let's say that I want to say that my basic equation is f of x, and remember, f of x stands for y, equals 2x plus 1. They're the equations that we've been dealing with. So f of x equals 2x plus 1. Now, if I want to change that, by the way, can I say this? F of x equals f of x? Do you see any difference? They're both saying the same thing. All right. What if I want to change this and I want to reflect this over the y-axis? Remember, I want to change it. I want to take it over the y-axis. What happens in that case? What happens to those x numbers? Do you remember? Instead of positive, they're going to flip over to negative. So let's say that I want to change it. So let's say that I want them to be flipped over. So now I'm going to use my purple colors. So g of x equals, now I'm going to write my same f of x, but I'm not going to say f of x. Do you know what I'll say? I'll say f of negative x, because I want these now to change to go negative, okay? All right, what if I wanted to take this same equation and flip it over the x-axis? I want to flip it over the x-axis. Well, now I'm going to say h of x. I'll just say h of x is going to equal, again, I'm going to use my red, and say f of x, because, but what happens now? Remember, my y letter numbers have to change. So in order to do this, do you remember in the equation, we had to change the slope and the y-intercept. Both things changed. So I'm going to say negative f of x. Negative f of x. Because the x's haven't changed. Well, the whole thing has changed. So instead of saying f of x, the whole thing has changed. Negative f of x. Do you understand that? All right, so here, because it said negative x, we reflected over the y-axis. Here, because it says the whole thing is negative, we reflected over the x-axis.